In today's episode, we sit down with Nicole Quince. Nicole stands as Managing Director for Everything HR. Nicole is also Non-Executive Director for Tour Women Inc. and Phoebe House.
Nicole, welcome to the Martian Logic Podcast. And I would love to start by letting people know what your title is and how did you get into HR? How did you find yourself? I'm an HR professional now.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, firstly. I started my HR journey, I would say, at school. I did commerce as one of my subjects and we were asked to do a project on what we wanted to be when we wanted to grow up or after we finished school.
Sure.
And my topic was on, or my focus at that point was on personnel management, which is evolved into human resources management or people and culture as to what it's known today.
Is that in the 90s we're talking about?
We're talking in the 90s, yes. So, yes, I did a project on personal management, loved the idea of pursuing that sort of field.
Okay.
Started university.
So what was the thing that, I mean, if there's a young person listening to this, give us an idea, because I remember when I was a physicist and I was introduced to programming and I was hooked.
Yeah.
I remember the moment that hooked me. So what was the one thing that you go, oh my God, it has this impact on people or whatever? What was that one thing that you connected with?
I feel that I'm a people person at heart, and that's what I really connected with. The opportunity to really work very closely and support people in the workplace. That was probably what really drew me.
Is that how you understood it back then? How did you understand? Did you understand in that, look, I'm going to work with people to make them better at what they do, to make them happier? Or how did you understand it then?
To bring them in, so to attract them into workplaces.
You understood that back then when you were still at school?
Probably not. I actually don't all the specifics of what I came up with. But when I left school and started university, I worked at what was then Grace Brothers and is now Myers.
I remember that, yeah.
And in there, what was then called Personnel Department of Myers, which is now known as Human Resources at Myers.
Yeah.
And that I loved what I did. Like I really fell in love with that idea of working in human resources. And so from there, I've never looked back. At one stage, after I finished my first degree, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. So started a law degree, decided halfway through that didn't want to be a lawyer, but I felt that it did add something to my skills and credentials. So finished that degree as well. But yeah, I've really had my whole career in resources, people, culture. There's lots of.
And when did the psychology come in? Is that the first degree?
So that was the first degree, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So I think I know you can get qualifications now just in human resources, but I feel that the psychology and the law has really helped do what I am doing today.
Right now, I mean, almost every time I talk to an organisational psychologist or an HR person, we talk about this whole psychologically safe environment and all that.
Yeah, that's
my goodness, someone with your background can connect a lot of dots.
Yes.
But then got the compliance and the legal aspect of it. I mean, that's probably 90% of everything.
That's right. There's a lot of compliance required, resources as well.
Yeah. Oh, good on you. That's awesome. And so the last question before we move on into the real topic, why would you recommend this career or to which group of young people would you recommend an HR career?
Yeah, I think it really suits someone who is that people person who likes connecting, getting to know people, supporting people. So if you're someone at school who is kind of that support for your group of friends, I would say it might be a good career path option for you. Look into it more carefully in terms of your university credentials. It's served me well. There's lots of different avenues you can go into as well. You can specialise in a particular area of human resources.
Such as give them a couple of options.
Remuneration. So you can look at if you like data and sort of numbers, then that remuneration and benefits could be something that you like. Learning and development. So looking at learning and development, specialising in that sort of area. Organisational development. So there's lots of different facets of human resources that you can focus on.
Yeah.
Or in my case, I've been a generalist all my career.
Okay.
So I look at all aspects of human resources.
Got it.
Which is
Fantastic.
what I love.
Okay, so we want to talk about performance reviews.
Yes.
In your own HR consulting firm, is that the right terminology to say? Consulting firm?
Consulting firm, yeah.
In your own HR practice, some of the things that you help clients with is the introduction of performance management frameworks for their business, for that particular company, that particular industry, in that particular jurisdiction. You go, look, we should be doing a performance management system here that will help you with a blah, 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 that will achieve blah, and you put a framework for them, help them to fix certain things. When did you first get to really understand? You go, right, when in real, the whole performance management connected in your head. Can you share that with us?
So I, even today, get a lot of clients coming to me for help with underperformance management. So when they've got problems with their staff members. And if you actually look at the root cause of what is going on in a lot of the cases where they're coming to me with problems around what their staff are doing, it's because the staff don't have a clear understanding of what's expected of them. And so if you look again, take a step back, putting that foundational performance review piece in where you set very clear expectations and direction in terms of what they need to do in those roles, it's going to really help, and have those regular performance conversations about what they're doing, what they're not doing, where they need to focus more, where they need to work on their development. That often helps in terms of getting to that point, not getting to that point of going into the underperformance management category.
So in the sense, it acts as a warning system.
Correct. Well, or just it helps, as I said, like staff are often not clear on what's expected, and so they do things that their manager does not want them to do or doesn't do things that they should be doing.
Look, this is what you need to do, and that's what will happen if you don't do it.
Correct.
Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say that. So having that performance review framework in place sets that foundation of what's expected of me and my role.
Yeah.
So
you're making it sort of black and white, because the everything, the whole thing, if we were to, very crudely, boil it down to this is what you're expected to do, and look, by the way, this is what will happen if you don't do it. If we were to be able to describe it that way, this would have been mentioned 1,000 times in the interview and in some contract somewhere, in a million emails. But when you make it black and white in a simple form, 1 or 2 pages, very specific questions, it really becomes very clear. People go, that is really clear. I can't, even if I'm doing a great job, but maybe I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing. It's making it clear for me what I need to be doing. And do you know what I mean? It's interesting, isn't it? The way it makes things really black and white and clear.
Correct. That's right. And so often the first question I ask someone, if they come to me saying that they've got issues with their staff performance, I ask if they've got the performance review framework in place so that it is clear, so that there's no miscommunication or misunderstanding of what's required. Because if they haven't got that, then it might be very hard to start a underperformance management process without that. Yeah. Like a disciplinary process. That's what I mean.
Would you agree that, as you put it, like when it comes to performance, yes, sometimes, or the underperforming people where maybe one of the reasons you want to bring the performance review to make it very clear for them, and in many cases say, look, this is the last time here, I'm going to make it super, super clear what will happen, the fact that it could be bad news if you don't do that, for those group of people. But then you've got these other group of people, they're really good. When I say, everybody's good, not as a human being good. Good workers in the sense they are doing long hours. The commitment is there, but they're distracted, sometimes focusing on the wrong thing. No matter how much you tell them, they keep being distracted. And I guess submitting to the law of there's a million ways of describing it. One way of describe it is when things get tough, we tend to be attracted to what we're good at.
Or what
we
we're
make it easier.
comfortable.
Comfort zone.
Our comfort zone. We stay in that lane of what I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. So we agree on that. So therefore, for those group of people, and in my opinion, they are actually 75%. I don't think in our business we ever had more than even 10% of really lazy people who just don't care, just don't want to do a good job. Probably even 5%.
Yeah.
It's really the majority of the cases where we felt performance review would really add value is you see them working, but working maybe also on good ideas, but it's not the priority.
That's right. It's not what I wanted them to do. But for whatever reason, if I haven't got that performance review framework in place, whatever that looks like or whatever that means, there's a miscommunication, misunderstanding. I'm on a different page to what they are.
Yeah.
What I want from them.
If I can just stay on that a little bit and get your opinion on that. Steve Jobs is quoted to have talked about how focus is all about saying no to so many good ideas. Good is in there. Actually, even great. It could be even great idea, but it's not what I'm supposed to be doing this week.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To be able to recognize that whilst this is a great idea, but it's not part of my priority and push it away is a discipline and a bit of an experience as well and a gift, isn't it?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And so those people clearly are the people we want to performance manage because we want them to stay, we want them to succeed. We just want to make it black and white clear. I remember my son, bless his heart, he's 20 now. When he was at high school, the principal said to me, we communicate with young men, we try to make it black and white. And it stuck in my head. He said, we don't want to create confusion.
Yes, that's right.
Black and white, we keep it black and white for them.
Exactly right.
And this, I guess, makes it black and white.
That's right. That's exactly right. Like the framework is what sets you up to have that structured conversation or just be very clear, like provide clarity on again, what's expected of what I want you to focus on right now.
All right. So what would you, I've got a bunch of questions clearly about the topic. How about if I start with, some of the things that you learned about performance, any lesson that you learned that you'd like to share with, owners, business owners, managers, HR folks, what would be the couple of things that you would love to share about what you learned about creating performance management, or whether it's to whom or some of these incredible parts of those frameworks that you've worked on and recommended to clients?
So I think it's good to keep it simple. Like don't overcomplicate a system, like or overcomplicate performance management or performance review framework. Just keep it simple. Like again, what you're trying to do is be very clear on what you expect from staff and giving them that direction that they need to be able to do their jobs effectively. So keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it with all bells and whistles in terms of a framework or a system. That's probably the key piece of advice. In terms of the thing that I would like to also stress, if you get to that point where you do need to performance manage someone because they're not meeting those expectations, follow a proper structured process with that too. Because often I get called in at the very end just when it's going to Fair Work. And what I see is that they haven't followed, again, that structured performance management process.
When you say follow, it's sort of to be able to create clear audit about
correct.
The fact that you told them and told them and told them. Yeah.
But also with the documentation, the way that you manage someone, performance manage someone. If it gets to Fair Work, if they put in a claim, they're going to look at how you manage that process beforehand to get to that point.
And how, I guess, at least in the context the way you're saying it, Nicole, would be the fairness of it, the fairness of that process.
Fair and reasonable, due process, that you've followed a due process, You've
the
allowed
visibility and the fairness.
Yes, correct. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But there's lots of guidelines on the Fair Work website on how to follow that process.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's lots of free resources on that Fair Work.
About performance.
About underperformance
wow.
management. Yeah, like even templates for creating
Got it.
disciplinary, like warning letters and things like that. So I would say look at that as a guideline for how to have those performance management conversations. If you've got that performance management system in place and you've been very clear on expectations, you've documented everything, then if you need to go to that next step, follow a proper process.
No headaches. You're not going to stress. You've got everything in place.
It's all there.
And I guess that's probably why one of the reasons companies like ours thought investing and creating a performance management system adds value is because reducing that headache. The fact that if you know that system is going to be doing all the stuff that you don't need to worry about, such as the audit aspect of it and enforcing the rules, which will end up being critical if it's challenged legally and stuff, then I guess that's the value we add, isn't it?
That's right. You've got that structured document. It's documented. Like it's a way to document those conversations and those expectations that you've set.
I agree.
That's what the value there that you're providing.
Yeah, to your point, you don't need a system. You can do it with Word and
paper,
Excel
pen and paper. But
100%.
as long as you've got something in place, a framework in place.
And you understand those rules that you're saying that you will be needing if there was any legal challenge.
Yes, or if they're not doing what is very clearly set out for them to do. If they're still falling short, then you follow that proper process.
Okay. So what are the type of performance that you've been involved in? Are they mostly around what we call the performance improvement plans, or if you can share an example where a company said, it's really not about getting rid of anybody. We really feel this exec or this particular team, it could have been a small business, even 10, 15 people, and this particular team, 3, 4 people, maybe the sales team, 3 people in sales. And we believe they could be doing a lot better. And they're good people as well. We want to invest in them. So it's an investment as opposed to trying to get rid of someone.
Yes.
Do you have an example that you can share and maybe the impact that your involvement made?
Yeah, I think to your point, like if someone is falling short or even if you've got a high performer that you're trying to step up into a new role or a promotion.
Share with us something about that. I would love to hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So putting in place a performance improvement plan that you spoke about is usually for underperformance. Like it's a very, again, a structured document for underperformance on what's expected of them. But you can still put a development plan in place in your examples that you've given to enable someone to be clear on what they need to do to step up into that new role or into a new department. I've got clients that have done that, like they've seen a high potential or high performing staff member that they want to elevate into a different division or different role. And so they've put a development plan, like a structured development plan in place that's enabled them to, again, it's about having clarity on what's expected for them to then step up.
And how long, that development, how long did it take, if you can think of an example?
For the client,
6 months, 12 months?
I would say 6, no more than 12, like it's a 6 to 12 month development plan.
And what does that entail?
So part of it entail training, like going on specific training courses, mentorship opportunities with other people at the company or even external people. It could entail asking them to participate in certain projects that the organisation is running, like in a particular area that's outside their usual focus or their usual sort of
and all of that
task.
Can be captured within that
all
performance
of that,
plan.
The development plan for
These
that
are the
particular
things
individual. Correct.
we
This
would
is
like
the
you to
things that
do
we'd like you to do
over the next 6 months.
6 to 12 months is to get you to X, where we want you to move to. Yeah.
And how about the goal setting? I mean, these are goals. You can argue what you just said are goals. Just it's interesting, something that we're working on right now for some of the large clients, over 1,000 employees. The goal setting for them is they have long-term goals that can span up to 12 months. And but they want to have multiple catch-ups prior to that anniversary, the 12-month anniversary, and they want to be able to review. But they can't really review the goal yet. The goal, it cannot be reviewed until the anniversary of this whole thing, meaning 12 months' time. It's a long-term goal. But what we ended up doing for them is we allow them to create steps within the goal. So you can review those steps and reset them every month, perhaps, which then at the end of all that, you can take a look and review that whole goal and rate that goal, how you think they went with that goal.
Yes.
Do you have any example of anything you've been involved in about sort of a long-term goal like that you would recommend something like that for?
I mean, sorry, an example of a project
of a goal, a goal that, you from working with some clients, there was these kind of long-term goals. And then I want to follow by saying, how did you go about that? How did you make that part of performance management if it's a 12-month goal? It's a long-term cycle.
So, I mean, probably a classic example is the implementation of a system. So it might be a 12-month implementation plan. Okay. And then you break it down. You say, okay, what is that first 3 months going to look like? What are you going to achieve? What's your plan? What are you going to achieve in that first 3 months? What about the next 3 months?
Okay.
So breaking that 12-month project,
whatever that project
system
is,
implementation plan, into bite-sized chunks, like 3-month chunks, I would say. And then you can assess them at each of those points, if that's what the clients that you're talking to want, as to whether they've achieved the broken down goals.
The
steps.
Those units.
The units that are leading to that bigger term.
I didn't think about it like that. Yeah.
So that's what I would do. I would look at the big picture and then break it down into smaller chunks that are achievable in the shorter term.
Got it.
And that's what you're checking in at each check-in point to see how they're going with that.
No, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Okay, so with performance, what's the one thing that you could share about you to do or not to do in performance management?
So when we say performance management, are we talking about underperformance management or performance review?
Either. Let's start with underperformance management.
So underperformance management, as I said, I think it's really important to follow the proper process. Don't just dive in if you've never done it before. Do your research or get some advice on how to run a proper, structured, formal performance management process. Gone are the days that you can just hire someone. It needs to go through a proper structured process in order for you not to get in trouble from Fair Work if they try and raise a claim.
And that can bring a whole company down.
It can bring and the reputation, the cost involved. It's a whole massive can of worms. So I would say really, really focus on making sure you go through that very structured process. And as I said, there's lots of free resources out there on the Fair Work website and other websites, just to make sure you're ticking those boxes on following that proper, fair and reasonable process that we spoke about. In terms of performance reviews, I would say just having a framework that is simple. So don't overcomplicate it. Just the basics are making sure those expectations that you've got of your people are clear. And so having a framework to support that documented process for having that clarity, that's what you want out of a performance review system or framework.
One of these ideas I must have talked to more than 15 people, and just not even by plan, just out of coincidence in the last probably 3-4 weeks, whether it's HR professionals or one of the directors in the company, is this whole thing about working with someone's with the skills or whatever, the things that someone is good at, focus on that and build on that. Don't worry about making them better at things they're not good at. What do you know about this topic? And is it something that you sort of ever, delved into and worked with any client about that?
Yes, I do think we need to try. It's strength-based focus on staff.
What's your views on that?
So I definitely think we should try and capitalise and really promote that someone into where they're going to add the most value in terms of their strengths. However, I also think that they came in to do a specific role. They've still got to meet those basics. Like they've still got to, like yes, we can try and really focus on the strengths, but there's probably areas that are not their strengths, but they've also
be
got to
complemented?
achieve.
Because if someone's really brilliant, but it's got some type of autism where they cannot possibly be good at certain details or some things, can they be complemented by other people, part of that team?
Potentially.
And they can be so brilliant vertically at what they're good at that they would end up as a team way better than you would do individually.
Absolutely. If you've got the resource and the capacity to do that, to enable that to occur, that's the win-win best case scenario.
Great.
It doesn't always work for very small businesses because you've got limitations on the number of people you can hire to be able to do that.
Okay.
So an example is that with an admin resource, like an executive assistant or a personal assistant or some admin resource, they might be excellent at customer service. They might be excellent at going and building that really strong rapport with the executive team. But if they don't have that attention to detail, like I think that's a fundamental skill that's needed in those types of admin roles. So even though you might want to invest in their strengths, like that customer service aspect, they still need to maybe do one aspect of the attention to detail. That's the problem.
I mean, an admin role, the way you put it, it's an interesting topic, Nicole, so that's why I'm engaging with you. So I definitely appreciate what you're saying, but it's interesting because the word admin role in itself has got a problem because it could imply 15 distinct roles. So how are you going to find someone who's going to be good at all that? You know what I mean? Like admin roles, it could be the receptionist plus a inbound salesperson taking calls about potential opportunities, and it could be that they are what else? A bit of a tech support thing. It implies multi-hat stuff. So to get someone good at all that, the chances are they're going to be mediocre at all of them, or at least not very impressive. As opposed to you identify someone is really inspiring our people. People love speaking with them. They end up being, they could be selling things, and I recognize that and get them to maybe talk more about opportunities and stuff like that. And maybe even if I don't have the money right now to hire someone else to help with, I could jump in as a business owner and maybe help with some of that role. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, you're really going to end up with mediocre performance.
So, I mean, the question I think you've got to ask yourself then is, in your example, like what portion of the role requires that customer service or the sales aspect? If 90% of the role is that sort of interaction or the customer
thing. How can
thing,
it be someone taking a phone call and not be so impactful on the performance, the commercial performance of the company, if they have become almost the face of the company, the first person you interact with, and they cannot identify who you really should be talking to, and there could be some business opportunity here. I really need to find the owner. You need to speak with that person. Or if they don't have that skill, you're kidding yourself. You're making the front of the company, the face of the company. So if you find someone that can do that well and they suck at a couple of things as part of an admin, what we think is an admin role is, what do you do with that?
So that's where I was getting to.
Okay.
So if you feel that is the most important aspect of that role.
No, but I'll challenge you about that assumption, if you feel. And I'm challenging you. I'm saying, how can it not be?
Which role are we talking about? The receptionist role? Because it does depend. Because if you've got a personal assistant,
reception.
Correct. Reception is your face of your company. It's the person the triage, like who's going to determine who gets to see the CEO or who gets to come in or who gets to have to wait outside.
Yeah, I was in my mind thinking that person.
Is probably critical. 90% of that role is customer service and the face of the company and the charisma and the interpersonal skills. So that's going to be your key things that you look for in that role. And if the attention to detail, which in the example that I gave, is not 100% or they fall short there, then you probably can get away with that because they're so good at all the 90% of aspects.
But I'm challenging you there. There's still something in between us there on disagreements. But I'm challenging you that you should if you recognize for a business, especially we're talking about the example of a small business, yeah?
Yes.
And rightly so. Thank you for educating me about that. If a small business is not going to be able to afford to build teams in every role, you're right, yeah? It's the reverse, if anything. The chances are every person's doing 3 hats as opposed to having 3 people to do the one thing, right? So it's the reverse. I acknowledge your point, the shortage on resources to be able to build those strong teams in every role kind of thing, yeah? But what I'm trying to say in this example that you used, you used the example of the reception, which they are the triage. Thank you for that's a great word I learned from you. I'm going to use it again. So the triage person, if I recognize that gift in this person, making people feel inspired and they can't wait to speak with them again, and they are commercially savvy to recognize you need to speak with that person or whatever, I will make sure they stay no matter what. For example, if they're not taking enough notes or some attention to details, I will compliment that. This is what we're disagreeing on, as opposed to can.
Yeah, I think I still believe, like, if you're going to require them to be able to take notes of who came in to see you, and they consistently write down the incorrect phone number, are you going to have an issue with that? Because I think you will, even though they're so fantastic at greeting them and triaging and knowing what's required. If they consistently give you the wrong number, you're going to have an issue with that. Am I right?
Fair enough. I'm going to get pissed.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Is yes, you can really focus on those strengths, but you still require them to do this role, this part of the role that they might not be so great about or great at. So that might be where you put them on a performance improvement plan. They've got to improve their attention to detail.
No. They've got autism or something. They can never be good at that. Autism, that's the kind of what we're discussing.
That's the opposite of autistic people. Often very attention to detail. They're very, very good at attention to detail. So with that example, that's.
Oh, I thought some type of autism where they can be really good at big picture, but they're not good at attention to details, to real details.
Yes,
Is it?
I think both of us are generalising in terms of our
definitely generalising.
But yes, and again, it doesn't matter if you're autistic. Like,
doesn't matter
you've
why.
Got different strengths.
Doesn't matter why.
I've got different strengths.
Yeah.
You've got areas that probably not so great at. Same here. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter if you've got an autistic background or if you're a receptive.
You're right. Let's take the autism out of it.
Yes.
They have. This is how their brain works. This particular individual.
Yes.
This is how their brain works. Where they're not good at attention to details, but they can see the big picture.
Yes.
And that triage, they can get a feeling that James needs to know about this, and they will make sure James knows about this.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? That's, I guess, maybe the example we're using.
So again,
what do you do about that?
You think about a small business, you don't have the luxury of getting different resources in to, I guess, cope with the fact that they've got no attention to detail.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get them to get to a point where they're writing down the correct number, at least, the phone number. You've got to get them there. Like, yes, 90% of the role, they're fantastic. And you'll keep telling them that. You're fantastic at all this. We love that you're very good at this, pal. But you've also got to work on this. And we want to support you and we want to help you develop and get better at this part. I know it's not your natural thing, but it is a part of the role. And we need you to really try and bridge that gap of getting better at this.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to disagree on this. Agree to disagree on this.
So you're fine if they give you the incorrect number?
No, I'll find a way to complement that so it doesn't happen again, but not them doing it. I mean, I would be a smart-ass if I said technology, because I'm sure you're aware of that. Yeah. We're assuming there's no technology to solve the problem. Because
correct. Well, that's just a hypothetical example. Yes.
I would be insulting your intelligence to say that. But there's always a way, I guess, let me just say. Yeah. If you recognize something like that could impact on you growing by 5% versus 50%, and you worry about taking the right phone number, I don't know how great of a business person you are.
Okay.
This is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, fair enough.
You'd find a way. But also I'm assuming here, that they've got their heart in the right place and they're trying.
Absolutely.
Their commitment, their work ethics, they're good people, they care about the company. I'm assuming all that. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be talking about this,
But why can't you try and get them to develop a skill that's not
what
their
I mean.
natural
They can't do
inclination.
it. It's against how their brain works.
I disagree with that statement. I think everyone is capable of doing things that might not be comfortable or might not be natural for them. I think you can always develop
talk to me about that.
people.
I'm sorry, I don't know anything about the topic. What do you know about that? Like, how do you have any facts about that? Is there any science to support that theories? I mean, what do you know about that?
Not off the top of my head, but I believe that people are capable of things that they can actually develop areas that they might not be naturally good at. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Like I hated public speaking. When I was younger, I shied away from it.
That's a great example.
I thought I was awful at it and I didn't want to do it and I hated it. And anytime I was asked to get up and give a presentation or run a training course, I would shake in my boots, like I would hate it. You know what? I've overcome that. I've actually developed, I feel, like enough skill in that area of public speaking to deliver really good training sessions or really good presentations now. So I've overcome that initial skill, and it's something that, you know what, my employer at the time, they believed that I could do it. I got training, I got support to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I overcame that because that was part of the role. Like it's, yes, they could, to your point, go, okay, you don't have to do any of that. We know you're not good at that. We know that you hate doing that. Or they could go, you know what, this is part of your role and we want to develop you. We want to grow you. We want to actually enable you to be able to take on that part of the role with confidence as well. So what we're going to invest in you to be able to lift yourself up in that respect.
I think you've opened my eyes about a lot of things. I think this is a great conversation, but I still think it's got some nuances to it.
That's
I think both are valid strategies.
Yes.
For whom and when and to which company and at which point in time in that development of the company, if you like, the journey of the company.
Yes.
So I totally agree. One of these modules that I've mentioned to you before, why I have interest in performance reviews, and I said there was two reasons. Me as a manager, as a CEO, I'm curious about it because we're implementing it at Martian. So the psychology behind it, the reason behind it, how it can be. Why would you want to implement it? Because there's so many different types of reviews.
Yes.
But the also another module that we rolled out about 18 months ago maybe is the compliance.
Yes.
And when we first learned about about compliance, we thought of it as like a police check.
Doing police checks on your staff? Is that what you mean?
No. Yeah. As a compliance, the police check being a one of these compliance items.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is that clear? Am I?
Yeah. I thought you meant a literal police check.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but you're saying it's the policies.
In Australia, we call it police check. No.
Oh, you are talking about police check. Okay. Yes, I do.
Yeah. The police check where where the government does the search in a database.
Sure that they haven't committed
criminal
fraud
history
or
check.
assault or blah blah. Yes.
Yeah. Literally the proper word I think for is a criminal history check.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm referring to. Yeah. So when we speaking with our clients and with our literal knowledge at the time about compliance, we thought of it as these are the kind of examples, the realm of possibilities that we learned about. Right. Is you got the police check. We also maybe had examples.
Vivo check? The Vivo check?
Sure. Brilliant.
Yep.
We thought about also, for example, a blood and alcohol test thing. So you've got to do, if you're on a construction site, maybe some every week or every month you have to do one of these checks or whatever it might be, things like that. But the reason I'm mentioning that, we started to learn that it's such a wide and interesting area. What can be really considered compliance. And one of these areas that we recently discovered is the training aspect of it. You know, whether it's training, just a quick course on Red Cross stuff, you know, how to help someone who's having problems as in
mental health? No.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to remember the word.
First aid?
First aid.
Okay.
Thank you. Resuscitation and first aid and all these kind of things. There's a few levels of it.
Yes.
But you're right. First aid is the right way. Yeah. So those things are, I mean, even that is training.
Yes. Yeah.
Let alone a specific course about a specific role that maybe whether it's delivered by some LMS or delivered by some government's website. They've got their own sort of LMS there. Or whether you have to actually go to TAFE or to even, it could be a whole 12 months course.
Yep.
Any of that learning, the way we started to see it right now in a generic way, basically the company is saying, look, we need to make sure you have certain knowledge or minimum amount of knowledge about a topic, and we need someone to certify it in a generic way, no matter who that is. Whether it's the Red Cross in this case, or some university, or some TAFE, or some LMS, or some local state government, etc. And this overlap between learning and between compliance was a new thing for us in the last 6 months. We started to learn about that, and it's been really interesting. We've been doing a lot of work in that area for our clients. And so, but also you're right, policy and compliance, and the policy, for you to have to read something to make sure, we want you to sign and understand, to say that, yes, you understand that you cannot vape in the office.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, that is compliance?
Yes.
Is that a policy? What's the overlap? If you can speak about that, please.
Between
compliance and policies.
So I think, so policies are a set of documents or a set of standards, workplace standards that you have that people must comply with in order for them to so for example, a code of conduct might be a policy that you've got, like, so it's the minimum standards of behaviour that we expect of you in the workplace. And so we expect you to comply with this. Let's
use the example of use of mobile phones.
Yes,
personal mobile phones, and what you know about that, and how is that compliance, or how do you deal with it? It's something that we want to start to implement now. Use of mobile phone. Yeah. We've got also vaping. Some people vape in the office, and we're still trying to think, should we be the company that says no to that, or yes, or whatever? And how is that these policies, they become compliance? I guess I would love you if you can dig into that a little bit. I'm giving you a couple of policies that I'm aware of personally right now, and if we can try and understand the difference in compliance and policies.
Is there a difference?
I don't know.
So I think, again, like your policy documents, so your mobile phone or your vaping policy. So if you have a policy that says no one is allowed to vape in the office.
Yes.
And everyone has read and understood that policy, and they've signed off. They've signed off.
Sure.
So if they don't comply, so your compliance aspect, if they do not comply, then you've got the right to performance manage them because they've breached that compliance aspect of working for your company. So I think there is a strong overlap between compliance and
I've just
policies.
never had the time to think about it.
So policies, again, sets the standards that you expect of someone in the workplace, whether it's how to use the mobile phone or vaping in the office or the code of conduct. Like, it sets the standard, the dress code.
Yeah.
It's being clear on, this is what we expect of you. This is the standard that we expect of you, and we expect you to comply, because if you don't comply, then there'll be a breach of that particular policy, and you may be performance managed. You may be disciplined.
Sure. As a matter of fact, you even have that in the policy. For example, with the dress code, you explain what, and then you can say, look, by the way, once you've signed this, you need to be aware that if you breach it, etc., there could be some legal basis where you could be terminated.
You could be disciplined up to and including termination of your employment.
Right.
Yes. So there's a difference in policies and guidelines, I would say. So guidelines are just how we want you to do things. They're not as strict as what policies are, and they don't have as much of a compliance angle as what a policy does. So guidelines, for example, might be, I don't know, how managers could do performance reviews with their staff. This is the guideline that we have in place to provide some guidance or advice on how you do that performance review process with your team member. So that's a bit different to policies, and it doesn't have that same compliance angle, I would say.
Yeah. So interesting. In our head, I think still, I speak for the product team as well, compliance for us, it's been focused on the things that need to remain valid. They've got an expiry date to them. For example, police check. I'm going to use the word interesting now, policy, speaking of the overlap.
Yeah.
Policy in a particular company says, we need the police check to be fresh every 2 years.
Yes.
Some people say 3 years, 4, 5, 12 months, whatever it might be. Working with children check, et cetera, all these things. They've got validity to them. And then part of why what we created for the clients, why it adds a lot of value, is you've got this auto reminder system and a dashboard that becomes brown and red. This person, they've got, 7 nice items.
They've still got to achieve. And the training aspect fits into that too.
Right.
Yeah.
So we understood this, and that's why the training, and you want to talk about it, please, by any means, but we understood the overlap between training, and we've already done something about it really well. The policy is still an interesting thing, and I'm going through it right now. My account managers and sales team, they've got about 12 people in amongst the two teams, and they're saying to me, we need a dress code policy, we need vaping policy, and we need use of mobile phone policy. And I'm going, okay, so that is something, if when people join the company, if once we've got that policy, we could have that in the pack for them to sign and become a basis of compliance. You've just said you comply to our policy.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a compliance aspect of the role or the organisation. Yes. Again, the policies are the standards that we expect of you, that we want you to comply with. Yeah. Yes.
And as a matter of fact, why not even the dress code being updated every few years and getting people to sign it again, because the world is changing.
Or if it changes, like if you decide jeans are okay when before you didn't.
Yeah, the world is
that's
changing.
When they would re-sign.
Yeah. There's a lot of it is cultural things, pop culture, or whatever.
Yes.
What's acceptable, what's not, and what we learn about health.
Changes. Yeah.
Look about cigarettes and smoking.
Yeah.
Was it right for 78 years?
Yeah.
Before it became a policy that you can't smoke.
And sexual harassment.
Let's talk about that as well. So that's a policy as well.
Yes,
really.
That should be definitely in terms of your minimum policies that organisations should have, regardless of the size. If you've got employees working for you, the minimum HR policies I would expect or suggest that you have are the code of conduct or bullying, which could cover bullying and harassment, including sexual harassment, work health and safety. What are the other ones I would suggest as a minimum you have?
What's work health and safety in terms of just because maybe we're not we don't do physical things here, maybe it's not a huge thing for us, although I agree it should be there. Just explain to me a little bit what does that entail? What are we talking about here? Work health.
So
it sounds very generic.
It is, yeah. When I say work health and safety, I'm talking like having something, because there's a minimum legal obligation that the government has said that you've got to have in place in terms of a work health and safety policy, which essentially says we will provide a safe workplace.
Okay.
And we're going to take steps to consult with staff to ensure we have a safe workplace. That's in a nutshell. But we've got to, that in terms of work health and safety, there's the government has said you've got to, at a minimum, have a legal work health and safety policy.
We say to people that we're going to provide but I mean, why is that going to make any difference? Because as a federal law, we have to comply to that anyway. So
but one of the compliance things that the government has said is organisations have to have a policy. Each organisation has to have a policy on work health and safety and what they're going to do in that respect.
But if the government already have got the framework, we just want to adhere to that. Well, can we do that or not? It defaults to it, in other words, right?
Well, but if they find, just say hypothetically that you breached your work health and safety obligations and you didn't provide a safe workplace.
Oh, yes.
So the regulators are going to come in and say, where's your work health and safety policy?
Well,
you don't have one?
We adhere with the federal government's guidelines.
I'm going to have to penalise you.
No, surely.
Yes, they can penalise people
why do we need to rewrite what the government says?
But it's not. You've got to
Give me an example.
adhere to it. So it's not enough to
give us one particular point, as narrow as you could be, how I could frame it differently to what the federal government can or does, and how I can change what the federal government want to do. Like I genuinely don't understand.
You are adhering to it. You are agreeing. Like it's not enough for you to just go, oh, yeah, the government told me I have to do that. It's you putting in place, again, a policy that you are going to do this.
I'm pretty sure. You're
is in your
signing an
contract.
employment contract that says
There's minimum things that are expected.
It's a company, it's an Australian company, it's to all these laws pertaining to employment and all this. That's all, I'm sure, in the employment contract. It's really interesting. I really wasn't being a smartass. That is a new thing to me.
Yeah, so there's some minimum things that the government. So the other one that, again, with what the government has said is that they will look. You've got employers now have a proactive duty, and they've put the word proactive duty to ensure that there's no sexual harassment. Mm-hmm. And so one of the aspects of having that proactive duty to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace is to have policy. That's what the government has said. So the fact, if you have an employee that makes a complaint for sexual harassment, the first thing they're going to say is, "Show me your policy. What have you done? What are you agreeing to do?" So it's not enough that the government says, "No, you can't sexually harass someone in the work." This is not me, by the way. I'm just telling you what the government is saying.
Of course. No, don't be silly. I really appreciate that.
It's not enough. It's not enough for you to go, "Oh, yeah, we're not allowed to sexually harass people." We know that. That's the government told us we're not allowed to do that. You've got to proactively show that you are doing that as an organisation as well.
Doing that is one thing.
That you're putting in place steps to
I'm going to put a policy that redefines what the laws in Australia are. What kind of policies are going to be?
So the other thing that they want, again, back to your training thing, is that you've educated staff.
See, that's different.
But you've got to have a policy to back it up.
The policy is we're an Australian company. We've got a very sophisticated law and a legal system that people know they live within.
Policy.
Why do we need to reiterate? Don't forget, we are in Australia, and you've got rights to take us to court if we do something wrong. Do you want us to say that to people?
So you've got using sexual harassment as an example. And again, this is not me. This is the government has got this legislation piece to say, right, we want to see that you've got the organisations have a policy in place that says we don't condone sexual harassment. So it's not enough.
What difference does that make?
So for example, like again, in terms of your training
is interesting.
But your training,
I agree with that. I think
your training links into your policy. Your training links into
that training.
As an organisation, we have.
I bet you any money that training. The number one thing for you to even pay $1 for any training organisation is the number one thing they say to you. We're up to date with the federal law regulations and legals and stuff. Not because of with your own policy. It gives a shit about what Martian Logic thinks about that. We want to adhere to what the whole country as in Australia we're developing as a culture, and we bring it, and the government changes the laws to reflect our standards as a culture. If you look at us 50 years ago, probably the workplace would have been like animals compared to what we are right now. We're improving every day. That's what matters, but not what Anwar says.
So again, back to documenting things. The whole thing, like we spoke about before with performance reviews.
Yeah.
You want to show, like, you've got that document. It's not enough to go, can you start performing X, Y, Z? You want to have that documentation back up to say, this is what we're doing.
The documentation would be, for me, I'm sorry, I don't know what kind of documentation, in my opinion, would be relevant here. But from what you said to me, what I've learned from you would be interesting, for example, if you have managers or any teams where you've got potential, you've got women and men, for example, although these days it doesn't really matter, to be honest, to train people, especially managers, execs, team leaders, etc., to do maybe courses, send them to proper, decent, reputable courses about this kind of topic, that you would know those courses are reputable in the sense that they understand the latest laws and stuff like that. I think that would be a good investment.
But I'm looking at it from the legal aspect and what, again, Fair Work or other regulatory bodies are going to look at. They're going to want to know, do you have a policy? That's end of story. And in terms of it's just say you've got a staff member that does sexually harass someone. What is important that they're going to want to, what you're going to want to reference in that performance the performance management process with them is that they've breached your policy. They've breached what you've set out as the standards of behaviour. It's not enough just to go, the government said you're not allowed to do that. They want to, in terms of that performance management process, they want to say, Martian Logic has a policy around sexual harassment. and you've breached that, you've sexually harassed that other staff member, and this is the things that we don't condone, that you signed off, you signed that policy to say that you understood that and that you agreed to comply again with that policy, and you haven't done that. You haven't complied with that policy. So now we're going to discipline you.
And we've got to keep this up to date and get people to re-sign it.
Yeah, if it changes.
As opposed to be somewhere on the website where the government's got that dynamic content.
No one's looking at the government.
People to all the time.
But no one. But your employees aren't looking at the government website on what.
They should. We refer to it in the contract. All these things,
which is great.
Fair work. Blah blah blah.
But they want to know what Martian Logic is doing too, not just the government, not just. So I'm more saying it from a process and what's going to help you, help organisations in terms of if someone breaches that, you want to have a policy. You want to be able to reference that because that's what's going to be, that's what's important for a fair work process.
Nicole, you've warned me about something. I really appreciate it. And thank you. I've learned from you. I'm not, there are two different things. I'm acknowledging the warning and the value you've added in this conversation. Thank you. I'll take that on board. I guess I've had a lot of HR folks that say to me that seriously, there's way too much overburden in Australia on small businesses from all these regulations. And this is, I guess, where my argument coming from. But I'm not taking it on a messenger, nor I'm being ungrateful to the fact that you're warning me about something important here. There are two different things, that's all.
Totally agree. Yeah. And I'm completely with you that there's an overburden on organisations in terms of the compliance aspect of working in Australia.
And I guess that's why one credit to give them in Australia, certain laws they go, it doesn't apply if you have less than 10 employees or whatever, although we're way beyond that. But do you know what I mean? So they do recognise some things smaller companies don't have to maintain and create and maintain and all that. So it's an interesting argument. I just feel there should be one single source of truth for that information, because these things are what our culture as this country called Australia, we believe about a certain topic right now, what's the right thing to do. And that is the ultimate thing. That's the ultimate federal law that dictates that. And if we can all refer to that single source of truth, I think it's a lot easier than having, all these could be misleading and waste of time and resources to have to redo it and put your own spin on it and whatever. What's the point? I'm almost certain, I cannot tell you 100%, but I'm almost certain we refer in the contract to all these things, the fair work and the blah, 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 So, but interesting, I'm going to take what you said very seriously and look into it as soon as possible, like tomorrow. I really appreciate that. Okay. So in terms of the policies, and we were talking the overlap between policies and compliance, and you're saying that's an interesting example here, how this policy could become, you're saying to someone, to a manager, on, because if there was any, or at least the company would say, look, we've done everything we can. This person still reached their obligation with us and did that thing. It could actually be protecting the company.
Correct.
That's
what I'm saying.
That's interesting.
So it's not enough to go, the government did something. They've got a law up there. They've breached that. To protect the organisations, you have to do it as well. You have to show that you're adhering, show that you're complying. And the best way to do that is by having a policy, training your staff.
And that's really what the fundamentals of policies are. It is about, we told you.
Yeah.
We warned you. We told
expected.
you. You've signed on this. Yes. You told us you've read this carefully and understand what's in it.
Correct.
And so if there's any legal ramifications or reputational or whatever.
You're going to refer back to that. You are going to refer back and you're going to say, you signed this. You said you understood. So we trained you on this date.
So that is compliance.
Yeah, it's all compliance. I'm saying it's compliance.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah,
I was saying, what's the overlap? My goodness, it's probably 100% overlap.
It's very much an overlap.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So the way it works in our platform, we've got this, incredible pack system that you can use it as part of onboarding people, or when you're making, for during the tenure of an employee, or during the offboarding process, where you can have, a form to be complete, a contract to be signed, all digitally, electronically, etc. A video to be read, and you say, yes, I understand that video, I've watched it. All these things, we give you the tools.
Yes.
but we haven't thought about how these also can be part of the compliance. It's not just the police check and a certain course and a blah. Even those policies that you signed on could be there.
Definitely. And that you've got, if you don't already, have the ability as an organisation to report on who hasn't signed off on that policy yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we need to chase them now, because that's really important that we get that signature.
It's more than that. Remember I mentioned before that whole, but thank you, the whole system, it goes from green to brown when it becomes within 3 months of that deadline, eventually to red.
Perfect.
So we call it that single dashboard, the radar.
Yes.
Just go to it. Oops, we've got 20 browns came up.
Let's
who are
chase
they?
them.
Action them, etc. Although the auto reminders would have off already and all that. But on top of that, you need to know as well. So we've got all that. So interesting how I didn't think that all those policies and things they signed, for example, at the very beginning, they could also be brought into the compliance. As a matter of fact, more to your sure multiple clients, not just, I remember vividly from a large client saying, even with those policies, one of the we make a change to that policy, we want it to automatically redistribute it to all the people that sign it to say, hey, there's a new version now, please sign it, and you've got a few days to sign it, whatever. Please sign it. I mean, version of it. So I guess that's how it's all connecting. You're right. Thank you. You've opened my eyes on a couple of things there. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. The last thing that you, one of these services that you provide to your client, we can dig into it. Well, so I saw the policies and I saw the performance. There was a third one under the services. I think you had 4 in total. Recruitment.
Okay.
That was the number one, I'm pretty sure. Any stories?
That is one of the recruitment. Any stories? Recruitment?
Yeah, about recruitment, talent acquisitions, mistakes and great things and stuff. It's such a fantastic topic. I mean, it's such an wow. I mean, what I've learned about recruitment in the last 15 years, it's so interesting. And I met with so many recruitment leaders that run teams of 20 and 30 people, large companies. And I mean, it's such a fascinating topic.
It is.
Yeah. What share with us something you learned about this, about recruitment? What can you share?
Where do I start? No, I think, so, I mean, recruitment is such it's a foundational aspect of organisations to do it right, because it's so important to, and again, what I find in terms of that when I get called in to do the underperformance management, often you can actually trace it back to the recruitment process, and that they've not done a very robust recruitment process.
Yes.
So it's so critical and so important. And I have clients that again, if I get to that other end point where they're in performance management, and often it's desperate hiring, like I call it desperate hiring. Like they're so desperate to get someone in that they don't go through that really robust hiring process. And they're doing a disservice not just to the organisation but to the person themselves. Yes. Because it's a mismatch. It's a real mismatch. So it's really, really critical to get that.
They wasted 6 months of their time too, not just the company.
And it doesn't look good on their CV to have a really short period of time on their CV at an organisation. So it's really important to just make sure that they've got a really good, robust hiring selection process.
3 things when you say robust, 3 things.
So again, having a position description with key criteria and competencies that are required in order to do that role successfully.
I like that. Yeah, I agree.
So then in terms of, and it starts right back to the job ad. So making sure that job ad is targeting people who meet those, so it's very clear what's expected, what the competencies are that are required. And then having that really good interview process where you're asking behavioural-based interview questions. Do you know what behavioural-based interview questions are? So asking... past behaviour equals a good predictor of future, how they're going to act in certain situations in the future. So asking really robust and following it on, don't just accept it.
What's your go-to in that area, behavioural questions? Share one example you go to in it.
Okay. Well, again, depends on the role. Asking, making sure that your questions align with the competencies that you're looking for that particular role. But for example, an example of one would be like if you're looking for someone, a sales, like a sales role.
Sure.
So talk me through a specific example where you've had a really challenging client that you've had to deal with and how you won them over. Like that's just one off the top of my head. Like just so crafting your questions.
Why
to
that
really,
question? Why is that behavioural? Why do you classify as is that what you're doing? You give me an example of behavioural?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a behavioural thing is what they've done in the past. So behavioural interview question is past behaviour or how they've acted in the past is a good predictor of future, how they're going to behave in the future.
Sure.
So asking, give me an example of what you've done in that in a situation where you've had a really challenging client. Is a good what their response is with that is a good predictor of how they will act in the situation in your organisation when they've had a challenge, when they've got another future challenging client that they've got to deal with.
Yes,
that's a behavioural.
A lot of people think behaviour is, and I fell for it as well. I thought more sort of deeper psychological thing, like for example, psychometric testing, kind of thing.
No,
I thought you meant simple thing, just to what you did in the past could.
It's a good predictor of future, of how they're going to behave in the future.
I mean, a lot of people ask these questions naturally anyway, but they don't realise that's what they're doing. So thanks for educating me about that.
So you also want to make sure their response covers, I don't know if you've heard of the STAR method of responding, which is the situation. Oh my gosh, I cannot remember.
That's okay.
Anyway, the response, the action and the
Google
response.
It and learn about it. Yeah.
So it's the STAR method. So you want to make sure they've covered all the aspects of that response. Covered correct.
All those areas.
It's not just about saying, oh yeah, the challenging client. Oh, I'm really good at it. So the other thing is again making sure they've answered the full question, but making sure they've given a behavioural example.
Yes.
So rather than them saying, oh, yeah, I'm really good at challenging clients, I do X, Y, Z. I want an example.
Yeah.
I want to give me a specific example of a particularly challenging client. Yeah. So making sure, like really prompting that and making notes. And so just having, again, they're probably my things for a robust. You said what's a robust process? So that's probably my things that I would cover in a robust recruitment process.
Yeah. I was thinking also, for example, no, that's important. Thank you for sharing. And as I said, you've opened my mind about the behavioural stuff. But I was thinking also maybe reference checking. What's your views on that?
I have mixed views on reference checking.
Okay, please share.
I've had situations. So my view with reference checks, they can be very helpful. But if at all possible, with your reference checks, you're ringing the company directly, not a mobile phone number, because I've had quite a number of examples where someone's given me their friend's mobile number and they've pretended to be their ex-manager. So you want to, wherever possible, call the company directly that referee works at.
That's more in blue collar work is kind of in a professional environment.
Definitely in a professional environment.
You think a salesperson, manager.
Definitely.
A sales manager in our world in B2B can talk to a friend and not realizing this is not a sales manager of a multi-million-dollar company. That make
what do you mean?
If my sales manager, you're saying when that friend picks up the phone, you reckon my sales manager within 5 seconds not going to realize that's not a sales manager, which is what it's supposed to be of a multi-million-dollar company, which is what the reference is supposed to be.
Do you
know what I mean? I feel.
I'm talking because I had a previous life in investment banking, and I'm talking that happened several times in that type of industry.
Who's making the call? Oh, the recruitment person, maybe.
I'm saying I'm called.
Yes.
So I'm a candidate.
Yes.
And you've asked me for my referee details.
Yeah.
And I give you my friend's number and say that, oh yes, they were my manager at XYZ.
No, I got it, Nicole. I'll tell you the difference in a recruitment person is clearly knows a little bit about fairly shallow in the different roles in the company. They understand roughly that we hire in our business sales and account managers. They can fall for it.
Yes.
But my sales manager, within 5 seconds, you go, what the hell is this? Is this a prank? They would know.
Yes.
If they're talking to the sales manager or the GM of a multi-million-dollar company or $1 billion company versus a friend, they would pick up on that. But no, you're right. The chances are the people doing those checks are recruitment team. And they can fall for something like that. They don't have the depth in that vertical to understand the difference. And
So that was going to be my other thing is it's wherever possible, get the hiring manager involved to do the reference checks because they can really drill down. And as you said, they can pick up if something doesn't sound quite right and they don't really know what they're talking about. But as I said, also ask for the direct line, the company line.
Yes.
So they ring Martian Logic
100%.
reception and ask to be put through to you.
100%. No, I agree with the point 100% and the trick about calling the landline versus mobile. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, maybe more for a blue collar, but you are quite correct. If a recruitment person is doing it, then it doesn't matter. They could fall for no matter what the role or what the industry is. I totally agree.
So the other ones with reference checks, I would only ask to speak to direct managers of the person rather than colleagues, for example.
Yes.
So the direct manager.
Yep.
The other thing I would say is at least the last 3 roles that they've had, unless they're from 20 years ago or something, ask for the contact details for the managers that they reported to directly in the last 3 roles or however many.
Yeah.
Because what I found in some asking for contact details for referees in some situations is that they'll skip like the last company that they worked for. And they'll give you 2 back, but not that last. And I'll go, oh, no, I'd like to speak to that person too, please.
Why
and they're very cagey.
What are you trying to hide?
What are you trying to hide? And if they're really cagey, I'm like, well, what are you concerned about? Why are you concerned about me speaking to your ex-manager at XYZ?
As part of our platform, we've been doing this for about 10 years now. You're able to, even in the screening question, when you're filling out the form, the application form from Seek or whatever, we have the integration with Seek and Indeed and all that. So you can have a question whereby you have to record yourself answering it. So you could have a bunch of drop downs and text boxes, but one would be, can you please record yourself and explain to us what do you love about sales?
So I don't know, like I know a friend of mine is there's new technology out there that and he's just taken a job for them where it's taking it a step further for in your scenario where you've got avatars that are interviewing you live, like straight away. So you can't stop and re-record. Like it's like a avatar robot AI person.
Horrible.
Correct, but you know what? To your point, like possibly in the future. A lot of organisations are going to go that way because, to your point, like if you've got hundreds of people applying for the role, that's going to like make it so much more efficient. But you know what? When I've told people, oh my gosh, can you believe this new technology that's coming out? 9 people out of 10 that I've spoken to and gone, oh my gosh, they've gone, I wouldn't want to work for a company that did that. Really, I'm not going to put myself forward.
That record yourself and explain something about the role, if you have passion for that role and if you care the tiniest to work for us, for you to record yourself, it's like leaving a voice message. And I know a lot of people are not comfortable of doing that, but that's the interesting thing, what you're learning from that video, comm skills, English skills, passion for the role, their eye contact. There's so much that you can gather from that that's way beyond just the phone screening over the phone and stuff. And it can expedite the process big time. That's what I mean. How you infuse it in the process is another story. Some people even don't do it in the application form. And what they do is it takes just a click to send that request to record that. They do it they shorten the phone screening and they go, yeah, sounds about right. They say, listen, we're going to send you a couple of questions and for you to be able to record yourself talking about your passion for that role or why you want to work for us. And they record it then. So maybe make it next step. But also, as I said, it's what kind of question and how you ask it, whether you make people feel uncomfortable or you're really acknowledging them, you're celebrating why they're good at something or they want to do something, they feel that they're comfortable to do it. It's really how you do it too.
Yeah, that's true. It's not, again, like I think it's not that it's not a bad part of a recruitment process to have that. And you're right, like it saves a lot of time. I just know that where you're in an employee market where there's a shortage of candidates,
Sure.
that you may miss out on people, and it's not because they don't want to work for you, and it's not because they might not be amazing when if they did come in.
Yeah.
It's to say that it's so uncomfortable and so awkward for them that it might be a hindrance or a barrier to them even putting their hand if they feel that way.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that it doesn't work and it's a good process and it's very time efficient and all that too.
So you end up having people, because it's easy, they do what we call serial applicants. They just click, click, click. But the bottom line is you call them back just because you feel good about yourself that, Seek gave me 150 applications. If you don't do that, right? Something like that. I'm not saying that's the only thing. Even just using drop downs and text boxes, you can probably achieve the same thing or similar anyway. But no, if you don't do anything, you feel good that you've got 150 applications from Seek. But then when you call them, number one, they're going to, I'm really sorry, I can't remember where you're from. Oh, yeah, vaguely I remember. Look, I'm sorry, I applied for too many roles last night. I can't remember. What do you guys do? And then they're going to discover if they don't want to work for you or they have a better option, or maybe you're a small business and they come from a culture where the mum and dad say, no, you've got to work for pharmaceuticals, you've got to work for big stable companies like banks. They're going to go, I'm really sorry, going to shy away, or tell you, yeah, sure, I'm interested, but never, they ghost you later. Yeah. So what's the point? You might as well have something at the beginning so you're going to get decent quality. Conversion rate is going to be way higher into any, interview or any sort of positive step. So it's interesting. So
again, like I think maybe when you are in that employer market where you've got a multitude of candidates applying for the role, it's a great way to like just have a much more efficient process. But maybe when it's an employment, when you've only got a small handful and it's really hard to attract and get people in the door, it might not, and then you'll have more time to actually do the phone screen. So I think it can work and it does work, but possibly not in all of those scenarios or situations. And for all roles, as I said, for sales roles, great, do it every time, even if it is an employee market, because you want to see them, their charisma on screen. Yeah, but not maybe for every single other role.
Yeah. Just thinking about recruitment still.
Yeah.
It's such a fascinating topic. That whole thing, the involving the hiring manager, is something that we're really big at.
Yes.
And we talk about the collaboration between the two, and we create the ability for them to do that without stepping on each other's toes. We encourage that, in other words. What would you say about that? Why you should do it and what will happen if you don't do it, or any of that? Like what did you learn about that?
Well, ultimately that new person is going to be working under that hiring manager. So you do want their buy-in. You want them to be involved in the process, so that they've got a say in that decision on whether to take someone on or not. Because at the end of the day, they've got to work with them. They're the ones who are going to be spending the most amount of time with them, most likely. Yeah. So you need to involve them in that process.
The direct report.
The direct report. Sorry, the hiring.
No, that's all right. I was just clarifying.
Yeah.
So I've heard recruiters saying and CEOs, they are a bit of an introvert. They're not going to be comfortable as direct report team leader. And, in other words, without saying it to me, although HR teams in some way many times said that to me directly, they will hinder our ability to attract certain people. But then again, I'm going, well, eventually they're going to work under them.
Correct. And they're in a management role. Yeah. They're supposed to be managing people.
Yeah. Like what the hell? How does that work?
So I think one of the key requirements for a manager is that you can be involved in a recruitment process. Yeah. So I'd be pushing back going, well, if you're saying that they're not skilled and competent and have the aptitude to sit in a recruitment process or to go through a recruitment process, then you've got to question, should they be a people leader? Should they be a people manager?
I know. Yeah. It just brings you back to this whole thing of the accidental manager.
Yes,
the manager who
or the
became
promoted manager, person promoted because there's nowhere else for them to go. And they're so
not necessarily nowhere else, but I mean they're really good technically at what they do.
I'm saying the same thing.
When I say technically, not necessarily IT technical, it could be a surgeon in a hospital or whatever. Exactly. As opposed to a leader, a people person.
Yes.
Yeah. So interesting. I remember agencies. It's a big thing when they meet with the team leader or the person when they're doing the brief. Yeah. They know how much they want to involve them, so they can use it either as a selling point if they're really good and exciting person and real leaders. They bring them so early Otherwise, they leave them all the third step until you feel you've committed already too much. You can never go back. And then they introduce you. They're very clever. They've got a good gut feel, recruiters, about that, agency recruiters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell at all?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Whereas I think, again, should be from the outset.
Yeah. It would be crazy otherwise. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, I think we covered so much.
Reached a blank page in your notes. So I feel you've exhausted all the things you want to say.
Yes, we talked about four major topics, and we had our fights and disagreements and learning.
Yes.
I learned a lot from you. I really appreciate that.
No, thank you.
Especially the policy stuff. That was really eye-opener.
Yeah.
The whole
compliance,
especially with the governments about you have to have certain policies and how it can protect the company. I mean, that's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
In the event of conflict.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. I really appreciate your time, and I wish you all the very best with your business.
Thank you for having me, and vice versa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
No.